right, then let's go. Alicia and Reenie here, out for a walk. Reenie is my little best dog friend. She is a scruffy terrier schnauzer mix. This is Sustainable Events Dog Walk, a short podcast from Positive Impact Event Consulting, where you can get a quick nugget about sustainability for your events and event business while on a walk with Alicia and her dog Reenie. Sustainability is a big project, but we'll get there together, one little step at a time. After some experiences this past week, I would love to talk a little bit more about some solidarity topics, about the complications that making going sustainable really hard, because I know that it's in the intro that says that sustainability is a big project and we're taking it one tiny step at a time. But week in and out, I really feel like I need to come back periodically and remind you that it's not a you by yourself problem. And in fact, it's so big, there are a couple of times, especially in early episodes, when I stop myself from going into a big rant about the corporate greed and laws and big picture manufacturing and transportation problems that are really the things making the biggest impact, and that individual change is not some sort of cure-all solution, and that those big corporations are marketing like it is to get some heat off of their own back and to be seen as sustainable, and to me meeting government needs, which is really annoying, and a poor use of the laws that's still supporting them. So today I want to talk about how systematic problems and inefficiencies and breakdowns are going to be slowing you down as a planner, as a vendor, as a concerned community member, because it's all well and good in Plastic Free July for all of us to switch to using our individual bottles and bring our own coffee cups and skip the plastic bag. But the reason that those things are making an impact is not because Alicia's 365 bottles a year are not going into landfill or even recycling, but rather because that is an economic vote toward not packaging things in plastic. It is defunding the supply chain for plastic bags and plastic bottles and paper coffee cups lined with plastic. And so when you're looking at your planning, the thing that I witnessed this week is a couple instances of the greater system really flowing upstream from good activities that planners are trying to organize for, and even have a certain amount of funding to handle things like green initiatives from the city, but then the county waste system can't handle to take in the partially sorted waste. So there are times, and I want you to know this not as a get off the hook or get out of jail free card, but rather to temper your frustration, because this is an inching forward situation. This is about changing the laws and changing expectations and changing the cultural conversation. All those things happen through us events, and sometimes our best efforts are not going to be as good as we would like them to be. I've talked before about how we as event pros are perfectionists and we want things to be as excellent as they can be. We want to execute flawlessly. And there are going to be ways in which you have a game plan that is significantly better than the systems you work within can handle and produce for you. And not only is that okay and great that you are doing better, I want to be reassuring you that it's your voice pushing and asking those questions that is creating the change. We all know from our own businesses how supply and demand works. We see that runway fashion trickles down to Pinterest fashion, trickles down to fast fashion, trickles down to every DIY wedding. So it's about being a voice in that push early on. If you run into a situation where you are making a plan to rent extra recycle bins because you have said in your event plan that you're recycling, but the fee for unsorted recycling and the cost of having staff on site to sort recycling are both so much higher than your budget that it's impossible. You know that you're just virtue signaling, and you know that you got to be so careful about greenwashing, because you cannot say that you put all of that recycling in the recycle, but you gave your community the opportunity to feel like they see that value in their event. But when you run into that problem, when you've got the chance, maybe go a little vigilante, maybe prompt a coincidence for that waste department that it's so interesting that in 2 weeks, 3 different planners emailed in complaining about how there's no affordable sorting option in their services, and that that's something that's being demanded by the public. You know, it's about creating that pressure. And it is so frustrating and so disheartening. And I know my friends, when they see me coming, go cross-eyed with like, oh no, Alicia's gonna call me out because we put out recycle bins and then they're all going in the same dumpster because there just is no middle step of the plan available to get that sorted. So the point of this episode is to say, don't get frustrated. Keep speaking up. When you are frustrated that the systems you're working in can't handle the elevated level of care that you're trying to provide, and your small nonprofit community organization can't afford to fly in a waste management company from San Francisco, and those are your 2 options, is take a huge fine that quadruples the cost of the service, or fly in a third-party company, or train up 15 extra volunteers, and you just don't have the bandwidth for that. Don't turn that frustration into the disappointment and saying it's not worth it and do nothing. Instead, push against those systems that are not serving you. And that goes for waste, it goes for energy, it goes for water availability. Because the thing about sustainability is it is such a big overarching issue that affects everyone universally that it is something that needs to be legislated on every level. It needs to be in the laws, it needs to be in the rules. So there need to be regulations and fines and enforcement, because we can't leave it up to individuals. And we already did leave it up to corporations, and that has left us with all of our food quadruple packaged and all of our small goods flown around the world 2 or 3 times and trucked on big gas dumping ships back and forth between the US and China and Argentina and China and the US. So we know we can't rely on that. And no matter how much your local city and county want to do the right thing, they are responding directly to the people and the businesses in their space. So be one of those people, be one of those businesses that speaks up and says, I represent between 100 and 20,000 people at a time at events which influence culture and improve our communities and our connection with each other. And this is what the people are asking for. And this is why I cannot provide it to them. And I'm not asking you to become a politician and go out and do all this stuff all the time. But like when you run up against one of these roadblocks that's just really dumb, just send an email to someone in the department at the city who it applies to the mayor, to a council person, to whoever pops into your head to send it to. Just send up an email. You can make yourself a little template that says, Dear whoever I'm writing to, I am an event planner. I work on community and corporate events between 100 and 20,000 attendees large, depending on the event. And I'm currently running into a problem with X. The demand from the community and the best course of action would be to Y, but I cannot because of Z. I feel due to the demand of the community, it's important that you know that this gap exists. Thank you for your consideration. Feel free to reach out to me if you need clarification. And that's it. Just send that every time. So that's it for this week. Solidarity. There's going to be some really big uphills. It's not always going to work. You're going to be smarter than the people around you, as usual, some more. But rather than getting frustrated and giving up or not trying, keep pushing against the system. Do the best you can do. That's what I always want you to do regardless. Do the best you can with what you know. And if you know better than the system can handle, tell someone, hey, did you know that the system is breaking? And even if you're feeling a little spicy and you want to do it as a LinkedIn post, like, that's cool by me, but not letting it stop with you, because our industry is invisible. We build Disneyland and then tear it down so no one knows it was even there. And all the things that go along with that are invisible too. So you got to start flagging it up to people. And if you need to have me on retainer and just send me a voice note ranting about what your problem is and have me send the emails for you, get in touch. We've got to start making more noise with the people who have the power to enforce the change we need. So there we have it. If you have questions on sustainable events that you would like me to answer in particular, or if you're running up against a particular problem or want to rant about an issue that you've had that I might be able to address with more people, please let me know. I've got a Google form in the description of this podcast, as well as the email address where you can send that information if you would prefer it. And I will see you next week for more tips, tricks, insights, referrals, and solidarity about event sustainability. See ya. Thanks for joining me on Sustainable Events Dog Walk. I'm Alicia Drewby, founder of Positive Impact Event Consulting, and I want to help you integrate sustainability into your event business so you're ready to make every event you work on more sustainable. See you next time.